The grand chamber of the Galactic Council towered like a cathedral built by giants. Crystal spires reached toward an artificial sky, while thousands of alien representatives sat in curved rows that stretched up into the darkness. At the center of it all stood a single human figure, Ambassador James Walker, his plain black suit a stark contrast to the elaborate robes and biomechanical enhancements of the assembled aliens. High Counselor Marcus, his blue-tinted skin gleaming under the chamber's lights, looked down at Walker with barely concealed disdain. The High Counselor's 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he adjusted his hover platform to descend closer to the human ambassador. "The Council's decision is unanimous," Marcus announced, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into standard galactic common. "Earth has 24 standard cycles to submit to Council authority. Your military will be disbanded. Your technology will be supervised. Your resources will be properly managed." Walker maintained his diplomatic smile, hands clasped behind his back. Around him, the chamber buzzed with the satisfied murmurs of 200 alien species, each believing they were witnessing the submission of yet another primitive race. "And if we refuse?" Walker asked, his voice steady and clear. A ripple of amusement passed through the chamber. Several representatives actually laughed, the sound a cacophony of hoots, clicks, and electronic tones. Marcus spread his upper arms in what he believed was a sympathetic gesture. "Ambassador, surely you understand your position. The Council's combined fleet numbers in the millions. Your handful of orbital platforms and primitive fusion drives cannot hope to resist. We have mapped every military installation on your planet. We know exactly how weak you are." Walker nodded slowly, maintaining eye contact with the High Counselor. "I see. And this decision is final." "It is. The Council has spent too long allowing Earth to develop unchecked. Your species' aggressive nature and rapid technological progress are concerning. We would rather not resort to force, but if Earth refuses to submit..." Marcus let the threat hang in the air. The human ambassador reached into his pocket, causing several security drones to whir in alarm. He withdrew a small metallic disc, holding it up so all could see. "Then, High Counselor, I am authorized to deliver Earth's response." With a simple press, the disc projected a hologram visible to the entire chamber. It showed a single line of text, rotating slowly in the air. "Protocol Prometheus. Activated." Walker's smile shifted from diplomatic to knowing. "High Counselor, you claim to have mapped every military installation on Earth. Did your surveys include Europa?" Marcus's skin rippled with confusion. "Europa? Your frozen moon? What relevance?" "Or perhaps," Walker continued, "your surveys detected the quantum signatures beneath the ice sheets of Antarctica." "No. The asteroid bases in the Kuiper Belt." The chamber had grown oddly quiet. Walker's voice carried clearly through the silence. "You see, the Council made a fundamental mistake. You assumed that because we didn't display our strength, we had none to display. You mistook preparation for weakness. Even now, your sensors are being updated, showing you what was always there, hidden behind quantum shields and dimensional barriers." The first alarms began to sound throughout the chamber. Marcus's personal communicator erupted with urgent messages. His 4 eyes widened as he read the incoming data. "Impossible," he whispered. "These readings, the energy signatures. Earth rejects your ultimatum," Walker announced, his voice ringing with authority. "We reject your authority. We reject your assumption of superiority. You gave us 24 cycles to submit." He checked his simple wristwatch. "I suggest you use that time to prepare your defenses. You're going to need them." As the chamber erupted into chaos, Ambassador Walker turned and walked calmly toward the exit. Behind him, the Council's worst nightmare was unfolding. A species that had not only anticipated their treachery, but had spent decades preparing for this very moment. The game of pretending to be primitive was over. Now, humanity would show the galaxy its true face. Deep beneath Europa's icy surface, in a vast cavern carved by centuries of careful engineering, Admiral Thomas Reed stood at the command center of humanity's greatest secret. Around him, massive holographic displays showed thousands of warships, their dark hulls reflecting the blue glow of the underground ocean. "Status report," Reed ordered, his weathered face illuminated by the screens. "All ships reporting ready, Admiral," his second-in-command, Captain Lisa Brown, answered. "The quantum shields have kept us completely hidden. The Council's scans never detected us." Reed allowed himself a small smile. For 30 years, he had commanded this fleet, waiting for this day. Each ship represented the peak of human engineering, designs that had been kept secret from even their own people to maintain the deception. The central display lit up with a new message: Protocol Prometheus active. The time had finally come. "Send the signal to all ships," Reed commanded. "Operation Breaking Dawn begins now." Throughout the massive underwater base, crews rushed to their stations. These weren't untested recruits. Every crew member had trained for years in these hidden facilities. They knew their ships, their weapons, and most importantly, they knew their enemy. Captain Brown's fingers flew across her control panel. "Sir, the first wave is beginning ascent. The ice tunnels are opening." Above them, Europa's thick ice sheet split along invisible seams. Massive doors, disguised as natural formations, slid apart. The first ships rose from their hidden berths, their quantum drives humming silently in the vacuum of space. Council ships detected near Mars, an operator announced. "They're moving into invasion formation," exactly as intelligence predicted. Reed nodded. "They're still following their standard invasion protocol. They have no idea what's coming." The fleet emerged in perfect formation. Each ship was a masterpiece of human innovation. Their hulls were made of dark matter composite, absorbing any scan attempts. Their weapons were powered by artificial quantum singularities. Every detail had been planned for this moment. "Fleet is in position," Captain Brown reported. "All ships report weapon systems hot." Reed opened a channel to the entire fleet. "This is Admiral Reed to all ships. For 3 decades, we've prepared while the Council fought us weak. They plan to enslave our children, steal our resources, and reduce Earth to another conquered world in their collection." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Today, we show them their mistake." The Council's invasion fleet appeared on their screens. Thousands of ships, arranged in their traditional arrow formation. Their weapons were powered down, confident in their overwhelming numbers. "Enemy fleet is broadcasting their surrender demands," an operator called out. "Send them our response," Reed ordered. The first shot of the war wasn't a massive barrage or a dramatic explosion. Instead, a single quantum lance from Reed's flagship struck the Council's command ship. The beam passed through their shields as if they didn't exist, cutting the massive vessel in half. For a moment, nothing moved. Then chaos erupted. "All ships engage according to plan," Reed commanded. "Show them what humanity can do." The hidden fleet surged forward. Council ships tried to raise their shields, but the quantum weapons ignored them completely. Humanity's vessels moved with impossible speed, their dark matter hulls absorbing every counterattack. From his command center, Reed watched the battle unfold. The Council fleet, despite outnumbering them, was being systematically torn apart. Decades of studying their tactics were paying off. Every human ship knew exactly where to strike. "Sir," Captain Brown reported, "the Council fleet is attempting to retreat. Their faster-than-light drives are failing to activate." Reed nodded. "Another human innovation. Quantum field generators that prevented escape into hyperspace. Continue the attack. No survivors." As the battle raged above Europa, news spread across the galaxy. Humanity's mask of weakness had finally dropped, revealing the face of a species that had spent generations preparing for war. The Council's greatest nightmare had come true. They hadn't found another primitive race to conquer. They had awakened a sleeping giant. High Counselor Marcus paced in the Council's emergency command center, his blue skin now pale with fear. Holographic displays showed the complete destruction of their first invasion fleet, over 3,000 ships reduced to drifting debris near Mars. How? He demanded, all four eyes fixed on his military commander. How did they hide such power? Commander Rex, a veteran of 50 planetary conquests, had no answer. His armored exoskeleton clicked nervously as he reviewed the battle footage. The human weapons, they ignore our shields completely. And their ships absorb our energy weapons like they're nothing. Send in the main fleet, Marcus ordered. All of it. But sir, the defense of the Council worlds will mean nothing if we don't crush this rebellion now. Marcus slammed his fist on the control panel. Execute the attack. In Earth orbit, Admiral Reed watched as space itself seemed to tear open. Massive portal gates activated as the Council committed their entire main fleet to the battle. Tens of thousands of ships emerged, their hulls gleaming with advanced armor, their weapons primed for revenge. They took the bait, Reed commented, standing calmly on his bridge. Captain Brown, is Phase 2 ready? Yes, sir. All units in position. The Council fleet moved forward in an enormous sphere formation, designed to trap and destroy the human forces. Their ships filled the space between Earth and Mars, a display of overwhelming force meant to intimidate. The fleet commander's voice boomed across all frequencies. Primitive humans, surrender now, and we may show mercy. Resist, and we will reduce your worlds to ash. Reed's response was simple. Now. Suddenly, space around the Council fleet lit up with hundreds of quantum bursts. Hidden human ships, cloaked by dark matter technology, decloaked in perfect position throughout the enemy formation. Each human vessel had positioned itself at a carefully calculated weak point. Fire quantum lances, Reed ordered. Full spread. The human ships fired simultaneously. Their beams crossed through the Council formation like a web of light. Ships caught in the crossfire didn't explode. They simply ceased to exist, their matter converted to energy by the quantum weapons. Council fleet losing cohesion, Captain Brown reported. Their command structure is breaking down. Indeed, the mighty Council armada was dissolving into chaos. Some ships tried to flee, only to find their escape routes blocked by more decloaking human vessels. Others attempted to fight back, but their weapons splashed harmlessly against the dark matter hulls. In the Council command center, Marcus watched in horror as his mighty fleet was systematically destroyed. Impossible. Impossible. Sir, Commander Rex's voice shook. We're receiving reports of human attacks across Council space. They're everywhere. They'd been hiding ships near every major Council world. Marcus collapsed into his command chair. The humans hadn't just built a fleet. They had positioned their forces throughout Council territory, waiting for this moment. Years of infiltration, preparation, and patience were paying off in a single devastating strike. Back on the human flagship, Reed opened a channel to all Earth forces. Phase 2 complete. Begin Phase 3. Target their production facilities. It's time to show them we're not just defending Earth. The battle above Earth became a rout. Council ships began surrendering in groups, their crews realizing the futility of resistance. Human quantum weapons had simply made their defenses obsolete. Sir, Captain Brown reported, we're receiving surrender signals from over 60% of the remaining Council ships. The others are attempting to scatter. Reed nodded. Accept the surrenders. As for the rest. He paused, watching the tactical display. They've seen what we can do. Let them run. Let them tell the others what happens when you threaten Earth. As the battle wound down, news spread quickly through the galaxy. The mighty Council fleet, backbone of their power for millennia, had been shattered in hours. But this was just the beginning. Human ships were appearing everywhere, striking Council facilities with surgical precision. The age of Council dominance was over. The era of humanity had begun. The great city of Axis Prime, capital of the Council's most powerful member world, burned. Human ships hung in the sky like dark stars, their quantum weapons systematically destroying military targets while leaving civilian areas untouched. On the bridge of the flagship Terran Dawn, Admiral Reed reviewed holographic reports from across Council space. Status of the counter-offensive. 17 Council worlds under siege, sir, Captain Brown reported. Their defensive fleets are falling back everywhere. Our stealth squadrons are cutting their supply lines faster than they can rebuild them. Reed nodded, studying a tactical display showing the collapse of the Council's military structure. Decades of careful planning were paying off. Every human ship knew its targets. Every crew understood their role in dismantling the Council's power. Message from Earth Command, an officer announced. The Council is attempting to activate their forbidden weapons stockpile on Beta Station. Reed's expression hardened. They're getting desperate. Deploy the gravity lance. In the depths of the human flagship, a massive weapon powered up. It was humanity's ultimate achievement, a device capable of manipulating the fabric of space-time itself. The ship's hull split open like a blooming flower, revealing the enormous barrel of the gravity lance. Target locked on Beta Station. Captain Brown confirmed. Firing in 3, 2, 1. A beam of distorted space shot from the weapon. When it struck Beta Station, the massive Council fortress didn't explode. Instead, it imploded, crushed by its own enhanced gravity into a point smaller than a grain of sand. The Council's secret weapon stockpile vanished with it. In the Council's emergency bunker deep beneath their capital world, High Counselor Marcus received the news with growing horror. Beta Station, gone. Just like that. Commander Rex, his armor now scared from a narrow escape, nodded grimly. The humans aren't just winning, sir. They're systematically dismantling everything we built. Our fleets, our fortresses, our supply lines. They're all falling. How did we not see this coming? Marcus demanded. How did they hide such power? We saw what we wanted to see, Rex replied. We watched their visible military, their public technology. We never thought to look deeper. Never imagined they could keep such secrets. And Aide rushed in, his tentacles twisted in distress. High Counselor, the Mendari Federation has surrendered to Earth. They're giving the humans access to their shipyards. Marcus slumped in his chair. The Mendari were one of the Council's oldest allies. Their defection would trigger a cascade of surrenders across the galaxy. Back in space, Admiral Reed watched as more Council worlds raised the white flag. His forces had practiced this campaign countless times in simulation. They knew exactly how to break the Council's grip on power, not through brute force, but through precise, strategic strikes that gave their enemies no chance to regroup. Sir, Captain Brown called out, Council forces are attempting to regroup at their core worlds. They're stripping defenses from their outer territories to build a final defensive line. Reed allowed himself a small smile. Just as planned. Launch Phase 4. Across Council space, more human ships emerged from hiding. They had been waiting in deep space, powered down to avoid detection, anticipating this very moment. As the Council pulled back to defend their core worlds, humanity's forces surged into the abandoned territories. Multiple Council member species requesting protection, an officer reported. They're renouncing their Council membership and asking for Earth's guarantee of safety. Accept all requests, Reed ordered. Show them we're not the barbarians the Council claimed we were. The counterattack had become a revolution. Species that had suffered under Council rule for centuries saw their chance for freedom. Human ships became liberators, their precise strikes against military targets while protecting civilians winning hearts and minds across the galaxy. The Council's mighty empire was unraveling, system by system, hour by hour, and humanity, the species they had dismissed as primitive, was leading the charge toward a new galactic order. High Counselor Marcus stood in the ruins of the Grand Council chamber. The crystal spires that once reached toward the artificial sky now lay shattered. Emergency lights cast red shadows across the empty seats where representatives of 200 species once sat. Report, he commanded, his voice echoing in the vast space. Commander Rex limped forward, his battle armor cracked and scorched. "We've lost contact with 80% of Council space. The humans." He paused, checking his data pad. "They're not just winning. They're rewriting the rules of warfare." Marcus turned to the massive holographic display showing the remaining Council territory, a mere fraction of their former empire. "And our last defensive line. Holding, but barely. We've gathered every remaining ship, every weapon, every soldier. But their quantum weapons." Rex's voice trailed off. Suddenly, the chamber's remaining screens lit up with an incoming transmission. Ambassador Walker's face appeared, calm and collected as ever. "High Counselor," Walker said, "I bring terms from Earth Command." Marcus's blue skin darkened with rage. "Terms? You dare? Your empire is finished," Walker interrupted. "Your member worlds desert you by the hour. But Earth is willing to offer mercy if you surrender now." "Never." Marcus spat. "We still have weapons you haven't seen. Technologies you can't imagine." Walker's expression didn't change. "Like the planet killer you're preparing to launch from the Omega facility." Marcus froze. The Omega facility was their deepest secret, a hidden base containing weapons too terrible to use. Even most Council members didn't know it existed. "How did you?" "Humanity has had agents in every level of Council society for decades," Walker explained. "We know all your secrets, Marcus. All your hidden weapons. All your emergency protocols." As if to emphasize his point, alarms began blaring throughout the chamber. On the tactical display, new signals appeared. Human ships, emerging from quantum tunnels directly inside the Council's last defensive perimeter. "Admiral Reed sends his regards," Walker said. Above the Council capital world, the space battle reached its climax. The Council's remaining ships fought with desperate fury, but they were fighting an enemy that knew their every move before they made it. On the bridge of the Terran Dawn, Admiral Reed watched the battle unfold. "Deploy the gravity lance. Target the Omega facility." The massive weapon powered up once again. This time, its target was buried deep beneath the surface of a dead moon. When the lance fired, it didn't just destroy the facility. It erased it from existence, along with every forbidden weapon the Council had stockpiled. "Sir," Captain Brown reported, "we're detecting mass surrenders across the remaining Council fleet. Their command structure is completely breaking down." In the Council chamber, Marcus watched helplessly as his last hope vanished. The Omega facility, gone. His fleet, surrendering. His empire, collapsed. "How?" he whispered. "How did you hide such strength for so long?" "Because you taught us to," Walker answered. "Every time you conquered a species, we watched and learned. Every weapon you used, we studied and improved. Every tactic you employed, we countered and perfected." The ground shook as human dropships landed around the Council building. Elite Earth forces began securing the structure, their advanced armor making them look like avenging angels in the red emergency lighting. "Your own arrogance blinded you," Walker continued. "You were so convinced of your superiority that you never questioned why Earth seemed so passive, so accepting of your demands. You never wondered what we were really doing beneath Europa's ice, or behind the dark side of our moon, or in the countless hidden bases across your own territory." Marcus sank into his command chair as human troops entered the chamber. Decades of Council dominance, ending not with a grand last stand, but with a whimper. The age of the Council was over. And humanity, the species they had underestimated for so long, now held the fate of the galaxy in its hands. Ambassador Walker walked through the captured Council halls, his footsteps echoing against marble floors that had once carried the tread of the galaxy's most powerful beings. Earth Marines in advanced combat suits stood guard at every intersection, their quantum rifles ready. Behind him, in restraints, walked High Counselor Marcus, Commander Rex, and the remaining Council leadership. Their elaborate robes were now dusty and torn, their once proud bearing broken by defeat. They entered the Grand Chamber, now transformed into a military command center. Admiral Reed stood at its center, surrounded by holographic displays, showing the final surrender of Council forces across the galaxy. "The last holdouts have surrendered," Reed reported. "The Council fleet is no more." Walker nodded, then turned to face Marcus. "Now, High Counselor, it's time for truth. Show them what you've hidden for centuries." Marcus's blue skin paled. I don't know what you mean." "The archives," Walker said firmly. "The real ones. Not the public records, but the secret histories you've kept buried beneath this building. The truth about how the Council rose to power." Under guard, Marcus led them to a hidden elevator. Deep below the Council chamber, they entered a vast room filled with crystalline data storage units. Walker stepped forward and activated the central console. The chamber filled with holographic images, records of the Council's true history. The assembled humans and captured Council leaders watched as centuries of deception were revealed. "You see," Walker explained, his voice carrying through the silent chamber, "the Council didn't rise to power through wisdom and diplomatic skill as they claimed. They rose through systematic manipulation, sabotage, and carefully engineered conflicts. The holograms showed countless civilizations, each more advanced than the Council, mysteriously falling into war or technological collapse just as they reached their peak. For 1,000 years, Walker continued, the Council kept the galaxy divided. They sabotaged emerging technologies that might threaten their power. They engineered conflicts between species that grew too strong. They ensured no one could challenge their rule." Marcus slumped in defeat. "How long have you known?" "From the beginning," Reed answered. "When we first detected your probes in our solar system, we also found evidence of your interference in human history. Subtle manipulations meant to slow our progress, create conflicts, prevent unity." Walker gestured, and the holograms changed to show Earth's secret preparations. "But instead of falling into your traps, we used them. Every attempt to divide us became an opportunity to prepare. Every technology you tried to suppress, we developed in secret." The images showed vast underground facilities, hidden fleets, and networks of human agents spread throughout Council space. "Your greatest mistake," Reed added, "was believing your own propaganda. You convinced yourselves that younger species were naturally inferior, naturally violent. You never considered that we might be learning from your examples, preparing for this day." Commander Rex spoke up, his voice bitter. "So now you'll take the Council's place, become the new tyrants." Walker shook his head. "No, we're going to do what the Council should have done from the beginning. Help species grow, share knowledge, build real cooperation. Starting with these archives, the truth will be shared with every species in the galaxy." The holograms showed the final statistics of the war. The Council's mighty fleet destroyed, their secret weapons neutralized, their empire dismantled. Not through brute force alone, but through decades of careful planning and precise execution. "The age of secrets and manipulation is over," Walker declared. "Tomorrow, we begin building something new." As if to emphasize his words, distant explosions lit up the artificial sky above. The last symbols of Council power were being demolished, making way for a new galactic order. The Council had fallen not just to superior weapons or tactics, but to a species that had turned their own methods against them. Humanity had learned from history, prepared in secret, and struck with perfect timing. The galaxy would never be the same. 1 year after the Council's fall, the Grand Chamber looked very different. Gone were the towering seats that had placed Council members physically above others. Instead, a circular arrangement of simple platforms housed representatives from every spacefaring species, all at the same level. Ambassador Walker, now serving as Earth's representative to the new Galactic Federation, stood at the center of the chamber. Above him, the artificial sky no longer showed artificial constellations of Council power, but real-time images of the galaxy they all shared. "The first year of the Federation has exceeded our hopes," Walker announced to the assembled representatives. Over 300 species have joined our alliance of equals. The chamber's displays showed the progress. Trade routes reopened, suppressed technologies shared freely, artificial barriers between species torn down. Where the Council had built walls, humanity built bridges. Admiral Reed, watching from his own platform, remembered the war that had made this possible. His fleet now served as peacekeepers, helping former Council worlds defend themselves as they rebuilt. The last of the Council's hidden weapons have been destroyed, Reed reported to the Assembly. Their secret control systems dismantled. Every species is now free to develop at their own pace without interference. In a secure chamber below, former High Counselor Marcus watched the proceedings on a screen. His comfortable but secure quarters were a testament to humanity's approach, justice tempered with mercy. He turned to his guard, a young human lieutenant. "I still don't understand," Marcus said. "You have the power to rule the galaxy absolutely. Why share it?" The lieutenant smiled. "Because that's what makes us different from the Council. We believe true strength comes from cooperation, not control." Above, Walker continued his address. "Today marks the start of Phase 2 of our reconstruction plan. Earth will begin sharing our quantum drive technology with all member worlds. The gravity lance designs will follow, once appropriate safety protocols are established." This announcement caused excited murmurs throughout the chamber. The Council had hoarded advanced technology. Humanity was giving it away. Captain Brown, now commanding her own ship, reported from the frontier. "The Outer Rim colonies are thriving. Former Council vassals are building their own fleets, establishing trade routes. The galaxy feels alive again." The displays showed new cities rising on formerly restricted worlds, trade ships moving freely through space, and species that had been enemies under Council rule now working together. "But our greatest achievement," Walker continued, "has been breaking down the barriers of fear. The Council ruled by convincing species to fear each other. Humanity's mission is to show that diversity is strength." He gestured, and the chamber's holographs displayed the new Federation Academy. There, young beings from hundreds of species trained together, sharing knowledge and culture. Earth's universities had opened their doors to the galaxy, and other worlds were following suit. "We remember the war," Walker acknowledged, "but we will not be defined by it. Earth's fleet remains strong not to dominate, but to ensure such tyranny never rises again." The assembly erupted in applause. Even species that had initially feared human retribution now understood. Earth had fought not for power, but for freedom. In orbit above, the Terran Dawn patrolled alongside ships from former Council worlds. Its quantum weapons and dark matter hull remained unmatched, but now they protected trade routes and responded to distress calls. "The galaxy is entering a golden age," Walker concluded, "not through conquest or control, but through cooperation and mutual respect." The Council believed younger species needed to be controlled. Humanity believes they need to be empowered. As the session ended, representatives from hundreds of worlds mingled freely, discussing joint projects and sharing ideas. The chamber that had once housed galaxy's greatest tyranny now hosted its greatest hope. The war was over. The real victory wasn't humanity's conquest of the galaxy, but their transformation of it. Where the Council had built an empire of fear, Earth had helped create a federation of equals. And the galaxy was better for it.